Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Following up on the chairman's questions, which is also my first question, Mr. Rushlow, can you tell me if this new methodology using the AI or whatever other methodology you're using to look at the aggregate data is being applied to other airports where there is close helicopter traffic in proximity to landing aircraft?
Yes, Senator, it is. We have 10 locations around the United States, including Alaska, Anchorage, that we're looking through right now, what we are referring to as hotspots, to look at similar trends, similar activities as it relates to fixed wing and helicopter operations.
Is this methodology of reviewing aggregate data going to be applied nationwide, not just in this particular area, but to look at the overall trends of near misses at other airports, not just between fixed wing and rotary wing?
Yes, ma'am. So there are 3 activities going on right now. First, the hotspots I referred to. Second is kind of a nationwide use of this review and use of this new capability that we've just admitted. And then, of course, the ongoing analysis and how we're doing that with our industry partners as well as the military.
Thank you. According to NTSB, between, as we've said, between October 2021 and December 2024, there were more than 15,000 instances of commercial aircraft coming close to helicopters. 85 of those had a vertical separation of less than 200 feet. General Brayman, do you know how many of those 85 close calls involved Army helicopters?
Our Ranking Member Duckworth, we do not.
Can you tell me why that is?
That data in those databases is currently not shared, but certainly the Army is interested in becoming part of an opportunity to share data because that's relevant to our safety as well.
Mr. Rushlow, will the FAA commit to sharing that data with the Army?
Yes, ma'am, we will.
Thank you.
We've also asked for that information, and we're going to share it as part of our investigation with all the parties.
And I think this needs to be ongoing into the future so that especially the military aircraft that are flying within rotary wing close vicinity, these folks should be getting this data, and we can do that moving forward. Administrator Rushlow, will FAA, or I've already asked that, General Brayman, can you explain the Army's rationale for its policy that gives commanders discretion to determine how many crew chiefs are needed for a particular mission? I think it's important. I don't think that the civilian population understands the extent to which the Army does risk assessment and risk mitigation and risk analysis and that process. I think would be important. And how are you going to be implementing that process moving forward?
Thank you, Ranking Member Duckworth. I realize that I have broad authority as the Army aviation regulation proponent to direct how every aircraft and every operator conducts their mission. But the reality is, and I'm not afraid to take that authority and use it when appropriate, the reality is the best individuals we have to assess the risk of every single flight are our unit commanders because we hold them responsible. They have the authority, the responsibility, and we hold them responsible to take any mission that they authorize, look at the factors involved, understand the people assigned to their organization, and adapt that crew to meet those requirements. And certainly that is something that will be looked at in this investigation. Do we do that? And we will hold commanders accountable if they fail to uphold that responsibility.
Can you speak to if a risk assessment for a particular mission comes in at medium or high risk, how the approval authority of that changes? Because you mentioned the approval authority for the DCA area has been raised higher for ADSB out, correct?
Yeah, yes, Senator. So all missions go through an initial approval process. So a commander has to authorize a reason for an aircraft to fly. At the completion of that authorization, the crew then assesses all the risks associated, known and expected risks associated with the mission they've been tasked to do. That discussion involves a third party, a senior officer or senior aviator within the organization that then assesses that risk and directs the crew to make any changes to mitigate anything that either that briefing officer understands based on their experience. And then when those things are implemented, it goes back to a commander who must authorize every single flight. So in the occurrence of things like ADSB out operations, that authority resides with a medium risk authority. So a battalion commander must approve that mission in particular. And in this case, the policy allowed that to be delegated down to a company commander. And they must approve that it meets the standards of the policy completely. We have now elevated that risk to high risk. That requires an 06 commander to approve any mission that has ADSB off.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask your indulgence for an extra 30 seconds because my next question, I think, applies to everybody here, and I think people will be interested.
Please proceed.
Thank you. This is for the FAA. I am hearing that there is a backlog of air traffic controllers waiting to get their FAA medicals approved so that they can return to duty. And we have an air traffic controller shortage right now. I think in the Chicagoland area, there's about a dozen air traffic controllers who are waiting for, they got new medication, whatever it is, but they're waiting as long as 12 to 18 months to get an appointment or to get a ruling from the FAA medical office so that they can actually get back on the job. And they're just sitting there not able to do their job. And I think this is a problem at all of the major airports around the country. I'm sure every one of us has air traffic controllers waiting to be put back onto duty, and they can't because of the backlog with the FAA medical system. Can you speak to that? And will you commit, if I give you a list of my air traffic controllers who've been waiting, will you take a look at those folks and make sure that their medical issues are addressed so we can get them back on the job?
Yes, Senator, I commit to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to follow up on what Chairwoman Hamidi is talking about, testing the ADSB out, whether it's actually transmitting data because the data was not received. Will we be able to check that with all of the other rotary wing operators that are in this region as well? Is that something the FAA should be mandating? Is that they could do that? I mean, you're not looking at the other operators because they're not part of this accident, correct? So then my question for Mr. Rushlow is, will you be directing, will the FAA be directing all of the other helicopter operators, whether it's Homeland Security, local law enforcement, who have this exemption to ADSB out, will you be directing that they actually test their equipment to make sure that it is actually transmitting the data that can be received?
Yes, Senator, I think that's part of our ongoing work in the collaboration between those operators and how we make sure they, first and foremost, understand the requirement, and second, that their equipment is functional.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to also follow up on my earlier questioning about the FAA's air traffic controller workforce. I had mentioned, you had committed to looking at the list of names I gave you that I will be giving you for the air traffic controllers who are waiting for medical review. I would like for you I'd like for you to commit to reporting back to me in writing about how many controllers around the country are waiting for medical clearances so that they can return to work, and what the FAA is doing to make sure these medical reviews are happening in a timely manner.
I will commit to that.
Thank you. In the race to hire more air traffic controllers, and then the staffing was adequate on that evening, but we could have used more air traffic controllers, obviously. And in the race to hire more air traffic controllers, I want to make sure the FAA does not lower your longstanding high standards for air traffic controllers. There could be a temptation to sacrifice effectiveness for efficiency, but the FAA must stick to its stringent standards to protect safety. Can you assure this committee that as the administration works to hire more air traffic controllers, you will not in any way lower the high standards that is currently required for individuals to become certified air traffic controllers? And there's plenty of places, a lot of them are in actually Kansas, that have the expertise to help us train air traffic controllers, as long as we keep those high standards.
100%. Part of our ongoing activity to surge in air traffic controller hiring is to look for the best and the brightest, and that's exactly what we're going to continue to do.
Thank you. You're back, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with your last statement. I just have two quick questions. General Brayman, I have never had a warrant officer be afraid to tell me when I was doing something wrong in the aircraft, and I prefer to have them as a pilot in command to myself. Speak a little bit to crew resource management and how it works in an air crew, especially, it was not just about, this is speaking to Senator Schmidt's question, not just about between the two pilots, but also the role of the crew chief, and do they have the ability to speak up as well?
And thank you, Ranking Member Duckworth. There's nothing more important in an air crew than crew resource management, and that is taught from day one. And everyone has an equal voice. And obviously, the pilot in command is the one that's designated with the authority to command that aircraft. But I have never been in an aircraft that was ever in an environment where all members weren't a valued member of the team, and we rely on all those members to accomplish the missions we're doing.
Thank you. I'm just going to wrap up by saying how important it is to fund and resource the NTSB. You guys do amazing work. You yourself, Chairwoman, oftentimes I'll call you when something happens, whether it was a door plug incident or something, and you were already on the ground or in the air on your way there. and you need the resources to do your work. And as we're seeing from this investigation, how critically that important that is, not just to find out what happened, but to prevent future accidents. So I could not agree with you more that we should be funding you. Mr. Rushlow, I think we also need to look at the facilities at FAA, and we need to talk to that. And I'd love to get your commitment to come out and tour the facilities in the Chicagoland area and see the condition of this repair that they are in.
I commit to that. Thank you,
Thank
Senator.
you. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the chairman, who's been very generous.